Welcome to the Fireside Gathering with the authors of I Don't Become Selfish, I Became Harder to Manipulate, sharing more of their experiences and wisdoms learned, hosted by Sara Jane. You can go to vocalreiki.com/fireside gathering to find all the authors and where you can purchase the book. Do enjoy.
Hello and welcome to the Fireside Gathering with the authors of I Didn't Become Selfish, I Became Harder to Manipulate. I'm Sara Jane, the lead author of the book, and I am delighted to be joined by Ilene Dillon, who is Chapter 6, Manipulation Can Be Hard to See. Thank you for joining me for this, Ilene. Just share a little about yourself and why you chose to share in this book.
Well, ever since my first husband left me many, many years ago with a 10-month-old child that we had consciously conceived together, saying he decided he didn't want to be a father, I've been fascinated with manipulation. And I actually have a manuscript on it. And I think that it's really important when we talk about energy on this broadcast. Working with manipulation is all about working with energy, and that's something we all need to do right now. So I'm very interested to share what I've been privileged to learn about manipulation. We are designed to outgrow it by adulthood.
Bless you. Thank you, Ilene. And Dorian de Lauriers, Chapter 7, Who's Picking Up the Tab? The Price We Pay and Why We Do It. Dorian, thank you for joining us for this. I'm loving these conversations.
My pleasure.
Share a little about yourself and why you chose to participate.
Sure. I'm a wide awake spiritual man, finally. I had a difficult childhood and thought I was over things, and I ended up in a not a good situation in my life, not ever having processed the things and having dealt with manipulation and abuse a lot. And then my life fell apart. And like the Stoics, I left my business, I sold my home, and then I had issues with my family, and my ship crashed on the rocks, and the universe whispered in my ear and said, Dorian, go to Costa Rica. And so I came to Costa Rica following my spiritual guidance and have had otherworldly experiences here that has connected me to the divine and has showed me things about my life and why we're here and the purpose that we choose. And my journey of this lifetime is love and forgiveness. And so I experience a lot of horrific things as a being to be able to fully understand and forgive. A lot of forgiveness is around, Ilene, your topic of manipulation. And those of us, and so when we're young, things happen to us, we become victims. There's another form of manipulation on that side of the equation also. But love and forgiveness is what I'm about. And that's why I wanted to join this whole process about helping people understand things of their life, create their beliefs. It's not who they are.
Thank you so much to both of you. It's an absolute pleasure to have you here. And I know we've all had conversations in the past, although some of our authors haven't met yet. So which is lovely that this is helping that happen. Dorian, forgiveness and the key to a present future, and that's obviously being in the present, I'm guessing. But share a little bit what you mean by that and your thoughts on that, and I will come to you shortly, Ilene, as well. Oh, we've lost your sound, Dorian.
Hello?
Oh, I can hear you now.
My mouse hovered and made a connection. Like, it went away. Okay. So let me get my train of thought back. So my life, I was writing, journaling when I came here to Costa Rica. And then I decided to write that into a book, Awaken to Life in the Meat Suit, because that's what happened to me here. I woke up and realized I'm in this body, and this body has had experiences, and this body learned how I think and feel about those experiences. And so this body then looked at the world through those experiences. And so I saw the world how I said I was, not how the world is, how I thought the world, how I view the world. And so, and I realized over time, I think about these things of my life. Minutes of the hour, hours of the day, days of the week, months of the year, and at this point in my life, decades of my life. These same recurring thoughts that come up again and again and again. And so what I learned is all the events, the things that we hold against others, we hold in our heart. And our heart wants to be free again. So we keep sending it up to our brain to say, dude, mind, process this one for me. And I finally learned that forgiveness is the key. And so I started down this journey of forgiveness, of guidance, after having visions of things that I can't really explain. And so I went through a journey of a ceremony of forgiveness that a shaman guided me through. And as people came up, as memories came up, I reassured me at the age I was, Dorian, you're going to be okay because you're here today remembering that. And so it's a way of healing the present by healing the past. And so what I learned over time, we think these thoughts. And then I started tracking how often I have these thoughts. And we literally spend a lot of our time thinking about the past. And what happens when I learn to forgive? Two things. The memories of my life change. Because when I said, this is who I am, not only is that how I saw the world, it's what my mind let me remember of my life. Only those things that I said I was. Once I forgave my father and everyone for all those things, I was in the ocean one day and I threw the water up in the air, and all these memories of my life that I hadn't thought of for 40 years, because I said my life is this, came back to me. Wow. And then it was very, very, very profound. And then I realized I'm not thinking about that stuff anymore. And I realize I'm here, like noticing the beautiful flowers and how many different shapes the leaves are and the shades of green and the sound of the bird that just flew by, because I'm here now. And what I realize is we spend so much of our life thinking about the past. We're not here. Our body is here in time. Our being, which is here for all time, is not here. It's back there, trapped, tied to the thing of the past that we think about again and again and again and again and again. And so that consumes our hours of the day. And I realized, I was actually calculating this one day. If I have one thought that lasts a minute and a half, and I have 10 of those an hour, in 1 year, I'm not here for 3 months of the year. 3 months of the year, for 16-hour days that I'm awake, I'm energetically not here. As I get older, I have more and more things on my mind. I think more and more of the past. The years go by faster and faster and faster and faster. The trick is because I'm not here. I'm not here. My being is there, way back there, again and again and again and again. And so forgiveness allows that to go away. I talk about burning down the library of my past thoughts, and there's nothing to go to. And so what that does is now my future is present, because I'm here, aware of things around me instead of reliving the things of my past, and not afraid of our fear of the future is because of our thoughts of the past. What happened to us in the past, oh my God, it's going to happen again and again and again. So I'm afraid of the future. And so my practice of learning forgiveness, and things come up where I have to keep practicing this, because we can't control the things coming into us. All we can control is our response to that. And so I have a lot of practice in this, and it keeps me present.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. Eileen, your thoughts?
Well, I love the fact that you and I haven't personally met each other. Our work dovetails, because I totally agree with what you have laid out as the process. And what I have been doing ever since my husband left me, and I was just talk about needing to forgive. I was so angry for about 2 years.
Yep.
And I went in the direction of studying emotions. Why do we have them? What are they for? And I ended up developing my understanding of the system of emotions. We tend to think of emotions as positive or negative or this or that. they are energy. They're not positive or negative.
Right.
And for us, the intention is that they help us. They help us decode opportunities we have to learn. So I've come to the conclusion in my own life and as a therapist, I'm in my 54th year now, that all of us have experiences. And by the way, I had a miserable childhood too. I think all therapists do. That's to make us stronger and help us to understand things,
Right.
and so we can have some compassion for the people we work with. So what we have, the way I've learned to look at it is the world is a big giant school. We have all come here in order to learn and grow. And the way we do that is we have experiences, and those experiences are an opportunity to grow. They come from deep inside of us. It's all those things you were talking about, Dorian, that you don't need anymore, and they come up. And most of us don't like to look at them when they come up. We don't like to make change. But if you will understand that you're in school and that the universe is going to bring these things to you again and again and again until you do deal with it. And every time it's brought up again, it's a harsher, more difficult lesson. Then we're all encouraged to embrace learning. Something comes up, I have an experience, then I want to find out what's going on. What am I believing? What's my belief that would bring me to this point? What do I need to change? And that's when emotions come in because they give us a code. The simplest example I can give is loneliness. We tend to think that loneliness has to do with not having people in our lives. My learning is that loneliness has to do with the energy we are expressing. And literally, loneliness has to do with us having more energy going out than coming in, which means, and back to the way you were speaking, Dorian, it means that we're not loving ourselves enough. And a very quick way to love ourselves is to do something for which we have a talent, or something that makes us feel good, or listening to the birds, whatever lifts us. And as soon as we do that, loneliness just drops away.
Right.
And fear and hurt and anger and depression, which is a form of anger, they all drop away. And what we're working with is energy, because emotions are energy.
Right.
And I think it's really key, and part of what I wanted to express today, it's key that we are in a time of moving more into our energy bodies. That's our best focus. And one of the fastest ways I have found of getting into my energy body is to use the emotions that I experience. By the way, I encourage people not to think of it as my anger or my fear, because that attaches it to us. And emotions being energy, they need to keep moving. So it's the anger that comes up in me, or the fear that I felt. So, my message is, we're in school. Yes, we want to finish things from the past because they just pile up. And what I've discovered in my own life and with people I've worked with is the more lessons I resolve for myself, which can include forgiveness, certainly, the more I resolve, that stockpile of anger that I carried inside of me for so long starts getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And now you can't get rid of emotions, but anger is this big. Fear is this big in me. And I also know how to move it along within minutes. And so it's not an issue, it's a tool.
Listening to you both, and I really hope people have listened to what you've said. We can use hindsight as a positive to support us today, but it's not about living in that. Their experiences, their past, we can't change them. But personally, because I help people connect with the inner child, when the child feels loved, cared for, listened to, heard, that is also another way. And the only person that can do that is you for your own inner child.
Yes.
People can help you do that. I'm one of those. But it's about when you can connect with your inner child and you can help him or her feel that people are aware of them, that they aren't a nothing, they aren't ignored, they aren't abandoned, rejected, as so many of us have felt, that they are actually really important and that they are listened to and heard and loved. That child, that inner child within you, grows with confidence in themselves. And the confidence I now have is because my child has that confidence. And yeah, because I was one of these people, it was just like I was so horrendously shy because of the things that happened to me and those feelings of rejection and abandonment as a young child. And I can look back at my life, and I don't look back as a judgment. I look back to try and understand what was going on and what was going on with the people, being open to changing my perception. But a child can only have a very limited perception. My mummy and daddy have put me into a hospital and I see them for an hour once a week. That is abandonment. That is rejection to a child. A mother that says, I love you, I love you, I love you, cuddling, cuddling, cuddling you, and the time she's got you, and then she puts you down and leaves again. Does that help a child to feel loved? Or does that just help alienate you from the word love? So we can use the hindsight of looking back to help us to have a greater understanding. Forgiveness of self, as certainly as we can start to learn to understand, for allowing things to affect us the way they did, so that we can step back from the judgment. And judgment is we've talked about forgiveness, we've talked about emotions, but judgment is something that can be really damning and damaging if we use too much of it, because we don't know what's going on in other people's lives. So thank you so much for sharing on that. And now we're going to come to your topic, which I think you sort of started, Eileen. Emotions are constantly speaking to all of us. So do you want to expand a little more? And I will come to you about this shortly, Dorian.
Yes, but I want to say one thing that kind of ties in with what all three of us have said, that I think most people are not aware of, although fortunately we're becoming more aware of it. And that is this issue of us living and being incomplete with what has happened in our earlier lives that keeps drawing us back there. So that's where we place our attention. Whatever you pay attention to, you tend to become. So here we are. The only time we have power is in the present. So what most people are not aware of, in my experience anyway, is that when they're concerned about things that have happened in the past and focused there, they are depriving themselves of the power they can have in their lives. And I just want to put that in there. So emotions are really amazing. They are helping us to constantly decode these experiences we have. And we say, oh, maybe bad things happen to good people. No, whatever happens in your life is your opportunity to learn. Now, you don't have to learn it, but as I stated, we just go over it and over it and over it again. Each time it gets more painful until we do learn it. And as a therapist, I have found that most people hate change so much that they prefer to sit in the pain they're in until it gets to be so great they think it couldn't be any worse if they make a change. And that is way more painful a way to live life than is necessary. The system is set up Oh, and by the way, when you forgive, like you were talking about, Dorian, my learning is that to forgive means to let go.
Correct.
And
When
and
people say I
also
forgive, but I won't forget, that's not forgiveness.
right. And also when you let go, actually what I wanted to say is uh, what we don't realize is if like I had a terrible experience in my childhood that involved my father. And I wouldn't forgive him. I wouldn't let it go until I was in my 40s. And that's when I came to the awareness that whenever I hold on to anger, it hurts me more than it hurts the other person. And I have started to say, if I'm holding on to anger towards somebody, I mean, I did talk to my father, and he didn't remember the situation that was difficult. Uh, but as soon as I release it, it has no power on me or him anymore. But without releasing it, I end up allowing him to get me twice. Once during the event that was so painful, and twice by literally slowly killing myself holding on to the anger. And so a big part of my message is please, that's what I'm still working. I'm in my early 80s now, and I'm still working with individuals and groups to help people understand that we need to turn it loose so we don't keep killing ourselves. We now know that anger, repressed anger, is part of the etiology of diabetes, heart and circulatory illness, and cancer. And so, literally, if you hold on to anger long enough, it will kill you. And that's my big message and part of the whole backdrop of my life right now. I want to let the world know that actually working with emotions is not difficult. It's fairly simple. The difficult part is, like you were talking, Dorian, is breaking down those patterns that we've had and
Right.
the buildup.
Right.
That's the really difficult part. But actually, the system for working with emotions is quite simple, and I've been able to successfully teach it to children.
Thank you, Eileen. Dorian, your thoughts on this?
So what you were just talking about emotions, we've had this ongoing thing in my work about emotions and forgiveness and where do they come from. And so doing some research, emotion and feelings are actually two separate things. And so emotion is the physical response that the body happens to a stimuli that lasts about a minute. What happens is the emotion triggers the feeling, and then the feelings go to the library of all of the stuff. So one of the things I learned is if you can be with the emotion without going to the library for a minute to a minute and a half, the sensation in the body passes. And so I also learned that all of the anger, so I had, when I was splitting up with my husband, I was so mad. I was 2 hours. I had kicked him out, and I was just like going through the house, and I was spitting mad. I was sweating, and I was swearing, and I was just violently mad. And then I looked at my watch and go, oh, wait, he's in the operating room. He's not feeling any of this, because I thought all this emotion I'm projecting to him, and he feels it. That was when the universe said, oh, honey, you are just wasting your time. Let me teach you how anger and hate works. It only works on you. No one else. It's a self-inflicting wound. Perpetually, we do it to ourselves again and again and again. And so playing with the emotions and the feelings. And so what I also learned is underneath all of those emotions that give us negative response is hurt. Hurt is the root of every person's anger. Something happened that hurt them, unresolved. They stayed with it. The cake kept baking, and then it became hate. And then hate becomes rage as it's not resolved. So that's so understanding those emotional ties. And then the hard part is the current emotion triggers the feelings of the past. And if I have all of this unresolved stuff, oh, here comes the avalanche. And now I'm back in the soup. But as with my practices, I've learned to forgive more and more. There's less material to work with. And so as you, Eileen, something comes up, I feel it, baby. I feel it. And then I let it go and I'm good. Moments, what used to be weeks and months, and in one case, 2 years of depression, is moments now. Because I understand, oh, this is a feeling that comes up. This is real. I don't need to judge. I need to express. I need to feel this is the only thing I need to do. Feel it, and let it go. And then it's gone. Otherwise, it's going to be stuck right here, or it's going to be in my shoulder over here, or in my back. It will stay with me, and then thoughts trigger the energies trapped in our bodies.
The way I say that, Dorian, is that when we hold anger inside of us, it's because it's the most active emotion that we experience. It's constantly looking for our weak points. And that's how we end up getting ill. If you have a weak, that's
Agree with you 100%, my friend, 100%.
Me too.
Yeah.
Because the only way your body can speak to you is by these issues that it then throws up. And it's saying to you, there is something for you to deal with. And
it's answering us, actually, because we've been telling it something and now it's responding back to us.
But we have problems with our eyes. What are we not seeing? We have problems with our throat. What are we not saying? And that saying could be to ourselves, not just to other people. What are we not openly admitting to ourselves? I hope that when we share all of this information, if people find themselves in life situations that are so uncomfortable, because you mentioned we take so long to get out of those uncomfortable situations. And I found myself in my second marriage feeling that I was living in a rut that was lined with rose thorns, and my husband was living in a parallel rut lined with rose petals. And how uncomfortable did it have to get for me till I eventually said, that's it. But it took me a long time to do that and then say, finished, over, not having this anymore. The relationship's dead as far as I'm concerned. He didn't see anything wrong with the relationship.
It was okay for him. There were rose petals.
Exactly. And it was just like, and I'd had enough of the thorns and it was time to claw my way out. And we have to get to that point. It actually took a broken jaw and 6 months of pain and sleepless nights to leave me so exhausted I hadn't got the energy to keep going. But do we have to have these wake-ups, these life quakes, as I've heard them called more recently? Do we have to have them to actually almost force us to take steps to rectify our own lives?
I have an answer. We both have an answer. The answer is no.
Yes, it's no.
No. All you have to do is accept what's going on and move through it, and then nothing builds up, so you don't have to have any quake.
What she said. Ditto.
Exactly.
Thank you.
You don't have to.
No.
But the sad part
Those
is
earthquakes happen because pressure builds. Just how real earthquakes happen, mantles shift, things shift, and we don't adjust to that. And then suddenly it lets go. It's built up pressure.
Resistance.
Yeah, those
Resistance.
plates.
That's the key.
Yeah.
So we're not far off of the end, but and this has been a great conversation. So I'm going to come to you, Dorian, first. Anything you'd like to share before we close?
Me? Yes. Something simple. What I learned about forgiveness is if you forgive, your life will be better.
Thank you. Eileen?
Well, along with forgiveness, I'm aware that part of the reason we have these quakes, like you were talking about, is that we lose track as we grow up, as we run into things on the earth. We lose track of who we really are, the spiritual self that
Right.
is totally loved and accepted and supported. And so we're, and it's not always through any fault of our own. But what we also haven't learned is that the whole system is set up for us to get back to ourselves. And in recent years, I know in my late 30s, I didn't feel loved. I felt unlovable. I believed I was unlovable. And in recent years, I have decided to love myself with a very simple exercise of imagining a small animal or a human baby and loving them and then transferring that love to myself. And when I started, I could only do it for 5 or 10 seconds, but I kept at it. And of course, what you have inside of you, you share with the outside. So you share the love, and it also gets reflected back to you. So you get love. There's no deficit of love when you love yourself.
However you are, you share to the world comes back to you. So
Yes.
when I'm not so good with myself, that's what I put out to the world, and then the world is not so good to me. So it's always, as you say, it's a reflection of what's going on inside. Is how the world treats me is how I treat me.
Right.
And the sad part is we're not taught to love ourselves, are we?
Most
And
not.
yet it is the most important thing for each of us to do. And how many times have we heard it said, we teach others how to treat us by what we accept and tolerate. And if it's not good for you, then it's about saying no. We have to learn to say no to others and saying yes to ourselves. So thank you both so very much for joining me for this. Folks, you will find the information about both my beautiful guests under the video on the webpage that you've joined it from. It's also under the video on YouTube. If there's anything that's resonated with any of the guests in this beautiful gathering, please feel free to explore their websites, connect with them. We're here to support and share. Take care, be safe, stay well.
Thank you, Jane.
Namaste.
Thank you, Jane.
Thank you, Sarah Jane. Thank you.